Hello everyone and welcome back to the Arc De Triompe build. We're on episode 4. Today we'll be working on the inner archways and external walls. As you can see, we've done the front elevations in the last stream and using this sort of white and grey gradient to kind of emphasize the frame of the build. Basically, we're going to be working on these side arches and inner arches, and maybe in future work out a potential for the inner walls. As you can see, we're basically running around these grey walls. We're using this deep slate as highlighting elements, but over here you can see it doesn't look too great. You can see there's no circular archways in it, and it's a fairly open plan. So we're going to be working on these sort of archway designs to either side, and working out how this is going to look with this main archway in the middle. Panning over the city, you can see that we've used these blocks all the way around the city. This has got the main walkway that leads up to the city with copper block that's currently weathering. These copper blocks I will eventually hopefully use as detail elements and trying to make them as a sort of highlight to add that Gothic steampunk aspect into this build. But you can see we're just cracking on. We've put the scaffolding up and we're basically building a half a circle to work out exactly how these archways will look. I always try and work out a main frame of the design using essential blocks, which is these deep slate, looking at how it looks, where it works, the placements and everything, and then I work on, once I'm happy with it, I can then add that detail. As you can see, the front elevation had these deep slate that goes all the way up, but then I've got rid of those deep slate to add the white in, and I was debating whether I put copper in initially to kind of show these steampunk elements. However, I wasn't 100% satisfied because we haven't finished the build, so maybe far down the line when we're designing the building with these copper details, maybe that's something we can incorporate. You can see we use dorite stairs, quartz stairs and black stone as key elements. This has a similar rhythm to the main archway that we designed a few episodes ago, but it's just a smaller aspect of it, and using these stairs give it that extra bit of depth compared with the other components. You can see basically just filling in these walls either side, putting the base plinths, just trying to create it more in the landscape and building up the walls that we haven't done. So it's more of just trying to replicate the stuff we have done in the past and add it to the other sides of the buildings. A fun fact is the Arc De Triompe is an iconic symbol of French national identity, and it took 30 years to build. So here we are in hardcore, and it's not going to take us 30 years because we've got the resources, got everything, and we've got one man that's working his way hardest to build it. Although, back in the day, I don't think they had elytras to fly around the building. Let's pan around from the front. You can see there's sort of material palettes that we have used, but we're going to be building this left-hand side here. We're going to be building these walls, building these dominant columns, and then building the inner archways within. I always start off with a plinth, a base plinth that shows the footings of the building into the landscape. It creates a sort of foundation to the building and secures it into the ground. Then I work up vertically with these columns that just give you more of a gist of the shape, the frame and the size of it, and then I work on these archways. As you can see, look at that beautiful view in between. It goes all the way through. This replicated design creates an aspect, a depth to the build. You can see here we're basically just wrapping around these details. The far right hand side we've designed that component, how these walls are going to go. We've got the different grey scales up to the white scale, and we're going to replicate that on the left hand side. So most of the time it's just collecting the materials, getting the components, sticking them together, and then basically replicating the design from one side to the other. We always have to remember that with these designs, it's one of those things that when you design one aspect of the build with a high level of detail, you can then repeat this design all the way around with minor modifications, which creates a larger depth of detail. I know some people, they like to do sort of a random palette materials, vary up and do some crazy patination, and that gives it more of a weathered look, whilst this gives it a more structured look, as if it's just brand new, as if it's not been patched up, it's not been weathered over time, not bits have fallen out and this and that. So this is always something I've always designed with. It's always creating a palette of materials, a design that works properly, and then that way you can replicate this design all the way around, and it creates a base of a color change, a gradient, and makes the building look pretty sweet. You can see here we're just basically working on this inner archway. We're trying to work out the other side of the building, and we're basically just copying across the design from the other archway to this design here. Now we'll work on the other side. We'll work on the archway on this side, and it's basically replicating these archways that we have produced all the way around, and that way we can then just fill in the external elevations, fill it in with the different palettes of materials, and eventually get it finished. As we're wrapping up, we're basically designing this external elevations to the other side. As we fast forward a bit more, as this is something we have produced, we can see exactly how it's looking, how the facade is looking, and how these archways are working. Although at the end of this episode we do start running out of resources, so start of next episode we will be working on getting the resources to continue this build. But if you guys did enjoy this video, the cool vibes, the music, and even the little fun fact, feel free to give it a like. Any comments, any sort of feedback would be greatly appreciated. We'll be trying to produce a little bit more videos for this, and hopefully if you guys do enjoy those videos, we'll try and hopefully get this complete, and eventually you guys will see the finished picture of this design. Yes, hope you guys have a wonderful day, rest of the evening. Just sit here and zone out as the music just pans around the building.